My name is Jason Herron. I am running to serve the residents of Guilford and Vernon in the Vermont House of Representatives, which is Windham District 1. I grew up in Vernon. I graduated high school from Brattleboro. I own a home with Lindsay. We have our 2-year-old son, Lincoln, and the fuzziest white bear, puppy of ours, Rizzo. In 2014, my best friend and I from kindergarten bought a piece of property in Guilford also, and we've been turning that into Lake Ridge Maple Farm. We sell firewood, lumber, and of course make maple syrup. You know, as far as policy goes, food is just so important to me, and I kind of recognized this when we started the maple process. You know, we wanted to make maple syrup, but in that process, we needed to expose the maple trees. We weren't able to afford a big maple lot, so we had to cut down a lot of diseased firewood, which we then turned into firewood, and that promotes the maple growth. And then there were so many hemlock trees that we had to thin out the hemlock trees. Well, then that turned into lumber. So in our process to make a food product, we found that we were nurturing the forest and making all these other value-added products. So when you think of food from a micro level of, you know, I want to grow my own food. I'm a terrible gardener, but I'd like that concept of planting seeds and growing my own food, knowing where it comes from. And then, you know, you see the maple process of that. Well, okay, you got firewood and lumber and the maple products, all while you're nurturing the woods. Well, then you look at our macro level of food and where we're getting our food from now, and kind of the monoculture ideas that we're trying to feed the world, and we're having to use some technologies that, you know, adding chemicals to our soils and things. We're depleting our aquifers and all of those nature. So, you know, in Vermont with me and the nature and trying to nurture the forest, if we focus on food, there's all of these added benefits to it that we don't have to, you know, get rid of our rural way of life. Farmers come from all different demographics. You think of food and you're thinking cultures, Chinese food, American food, Mexican food, and that just kind of unites us all together. So when you think about how it can boost our economy and give us food security, we're getting all this healthy, nutrient-dense food, and, you know, our security in Vermont and then our national security. So I just think, man, I'm passionate about food. Stress is so different on so many different levels. There's so many things in life you just cannot control, and that can induce stress. And if you take this principle from John Quincy Adams, is the duty is ours, the results are God's. Now, whether you believe in God or, you know, whatever you believe in, there are certain things that you can't control, and your destiny is weaved into this, and you have to let those things just go and let that happen. But when it comes to stress, I think it can be really advantageous. I'll go back to my concrete days, and I still pour a little concrete. In fact, Mason and I just poured 48 yards for my cousin the other day, and it's stressful when you're thinking about concrete because the concrete hardens fast. If the truck gets stuck, you have a blowout. There's all of these things to be stressful in the preparatory phase, which is advantageous because if you stress out in the preparatory phase, then you're preparing for taking action. So when you come to taking action, if something goes wrong, you can't afford stress. You have to now take action, and concrete drives that home because once there's an accident or once the truck gets stuck, the concrete doesn't stop curing. So there's no time for stress. You just have to focus on doing your work. So there's a big level of stress where you just don't have any control. You've got to leave that up to whatever you believe in. There's a good amount of stress in the preparatory phase of things. And then when it comes to taking action, there's just no room for it. And you have to take that and put that stress aside. The time for stress after that is to look at, well, what did we do wrong? How can we fix that? And then you add that to your stressor for the next one, because look, this happened here. We had a problem. We didn't have a time to stress out about it then. We fixed it, but now let's stress out about it before so we can prevent that from happening again. So I think stress could be really advantageous if you use it in the right aspect. And so, you know, I think there's really good positive things about taking some stress. But this is an added stressor. There's no doubt about it. I don't feel comfortable doing this right here, right now, but I think you just have to just dive in and do it. I think any farmer is going to say the same answer. They're going to say their own property. You know, we live on East Mountain in southern Vermont in Guilford, and I love it. I walk through those woods with my dog, my child, with Lindsay, with my best friend, our business partner, and no one knows those woods like we do, and no one can appreciate the trees that we're like, oh, we don't want to cut that one down. We want to see it. Now we avoided that 10 years ago. And now we're seeing all of these, you know, the maple trees that we freed up from all this. We're seeing the canopy started at this and now they're this. In 10 years, I'm excited to see where they are like that. But when you're talking about a piece of property that I want to be a part of and want to walk around, there's no better place than East Mountain and where my house is and where our farm is. And all the neighbors around there too are just wonderful. So yeah, East Mountain, that's my favorite plot, hands down. There's a lot of things that you can consider when you want to vote for someone. I would first consider if they want to be your trustee and servant. You know, Article 6 of Vermont's Constitution said that all powers inherently derive from the people, and all officers are accountable to the people. They're their trustees and servants, and they're accountable to them in a legal way. I'm paraphrasing Article 6, but I want to be the trustee and servant. I don't want to rule over people. I want to hear what they have to say, and I want to be informed. And I think we need more civic engagement. I think that people are so busy working that they just didn't have the time to get involved and to push policies and make sure that their representative was representing them and not their own interest or special interest or getting reelected. So I would suggest that people look at the character of the person they're running, not the letter next to their name, whether they're Democrat, Republican, progressive, or any of that. So I think I'd like to leave with that. Just make sure that you're looking at someone that wants to be a representative, a trustee and servant of yours, not someone who wants to rule over you.